Go for it.
Hello and welcome to the Outdoor Quad Life. Well, we are 2/3 of the way through the month, and today we are going to cover an item that is probably the first thing that most people notice when someone has a spinal cord injury, and that, of course, is the wheelchair. And just like everything else, your need for a wheelchair and what you use, of course, depends on your level of injury. So, for very low level injuries, like say sacral or low level thoracic, then these people are sometimes able to walk at least with some mobility aids, so they may only need something like a cane or sometimes a walker, and then maybe for long distance they might use a scooter or some type of wheelchair. And so you may have a spinal cord injury and not really need much assistance at all. And then you get a little bit higher up, which more common is what we see of a paraplegic, that they have full use of their arms. And if this is the case, then really most people, what they use is just a manual wheelchair. So something that they can just push on their own by pushing the wheels beside them. And there are a multitude of options for this. There are chairs that have kind of slanted wheels that are good for doing quick maneuvers and sporty type things, such as doing basketball, or just especially for kids that have energy, as any kids do, whether you're walking or not. Kids have energy, and so a paraplegic, is able to move themselves around, and that works for a lot of people. However, for long-term use, I've seen several people that have problems with their shoulders, like the rotator cuff. After years of moving your arms back and forth and pushing yourself in order to get around, well, it takes a toll on your arms, and then they end up needing surgery to help support arms and correct problems and that kind of thing. Therefore, the next level up from a manual chair, of course, is a power wheelchair. And again, for people that are able to use their arms at least somewhat, then what will often be the case is that they will have a joystick down by like their right arm or left, depending on the preference of the person, and that way they can drive the chair and get around as they want, but it also saves on wear and tear on their arms, and it is better maybe for very long-term use. Then, of course, you get very high-level injuries like myself, and of course my only option if I want to move myself around is power chair, and then various options within it. So I did a couple of videos on this quite a while back, but I will link to those at the end, and we'll cover a little bit more now. But I use what's called a chin control. And just like someone that may use a joystick by their hands, well, my chin control is the same joystick, just basically tilted 90 degrees and available for my chin instead of my hands. And with that, I can just move my chair around by my chin and move it up, I go forward and down, backwards, and left and right goes the same directions. And we also get many more options of things that I need for my chair and that help my body. So, like for this chair I have now, I can tilt my whole seat backwards, which helps for alleviating pressure on my legs and bottom end. And I can also stick my feet out, or it's called elevating a footrest, and that way I can stretch my knees a little bit, because a lot of people that sit for decades, like myself, get contractures in the back of their knees that they don't bend very much. And thankfully mine aren't too bad, but I still have some, so I like being able to give them a stretch when I can. And then also, since all I can move is my head, I have buttons in my headrest that when I can actually reach them, I can move my controls in and out. So if I hit the button on the right, you can see controls move away a little bit, and if I hit the button on my left, they come in. However, they're a little bit hard for me to hit. As I had in a video a few days ago, I have scoliosis, or a crooked back, and because of that I can only move my head around so much. Most power wheelchairs are said to last an average of about 5 years, and most insurances will get you a new chair after 5 years. Well, I am 37 years post-injury, and I think I got my first power chair maybe a year and a half after I was injured. And this is only my third power chair I've had. My previous one to this had a very large rear wheel to it, or both sides, and it served me well for 19 years. Now this one I've had for 7 years, and it's done fairly well, but unfortunately the back support on it isn't quite as good as my previous one, and I can feel that my back is twisting a little bit. So that is why I have a shoulder strap over here to help counteract that, but it's still an issue. But I'm very thankful that we have wheelchairs like this that I can get around. And when I'm not in it, then these chairs are available or are able to go in a manual mode that they can be pushed. However, with me sitting in my chair here, that total weight with me and my chair is over 500 pounds, and it takes a lot for my caregivers to push. So out here on the deck, if I go on certain boards that are starting to get old and need replaced, they definitely dip down and show that there's a lot of weight going over them. And so I have to be very careful, of course, not to run over anyone, which I'm careful about anyway, but I always want to keep that in mind as well. But I am very thankful that even though my legs don't work, or my hands, I'm still able to drive myself around and move around and really at least have some sort of independence that way. But that is it for today. I'm talking about wheelchairs. As always, thank you very much for watching, and see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.